And this matter comes before the court today on Ms. Mills, the respondent's motion to terminate the PPO. As an initial matter, I'd invite both parties to state and spell your name for the record. We can begin with Ms. Martin.
My name is Caitlin Martin. It's Caitlin Martin, Martin.
Thank you. And Ms. Mills.
My name is Rachel Mills. It's Rachel Mills, Mills.
Very good. Thank you. And Ms. Martin, it's your burden to establish that the facts underlying this PPO are true and correct, and what is required to sustain this type of PPO, a non-domestic PPO, is that there are two incidents of threatening or harassing conduct. So I'm going to swear you in, and I'll let you explain the basis for this PPO. And then I'll also allow Ms. Mills to ask any questions, and then I can make a ruling on that. So, Ms. Martin, if you'd raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very good. In a nutshell, and without just reading the basis for the PPO, can you explain to me why you requested the PPO in the first place?
Yes, absolutely. So originally I requested the PPO because I had repeatedly asked Miss Mills to stop contacting me. She had shown up to my house. She had followed me from my work to my now husband's work, got out of her car, banged on my window. She came to my house while my children were home, banging on my windows, scared my, at the time, 5-year-old to the point where he cried and asked if she knew where his dad lived and if he could go to his dad's so she wouldn't show up. The PPO was put in place. It was in place for 6 months. We tried to get it reinstated, and she fought that. We came before the court, and the judge said that he would release the PPO as long as she knew not to contact me. And I said I was fine if there was no PPO. I just didn't want any contact with her. And then, of course, she can't help herself, so she contacted me again. And I can't have that in my life. It's too much.
Okay, and the contact that occurred was electronically, it was over
Yes.
social media?
Yep, and through mutual friends. It's all the time. It's nonstop.
Okay, and when you say, has she directly reached out to you on social media?
Yes.
Okay, and what's the content of those messages? Well, I guess first, how do you know it is Miss Mills?
It's coming from her account.
Okay.
It has her name, and it's always about my husband, always trying to come between me and my husband. And she, honestly, I feel like she's just jealous and she wants to ruin our marriage, but it's not going to work. We're very happy together. And it's just pointless. There's no reason for it.
And these messages are sent directly to you or to your
Yes.
husband?
Both, but to me, the ones that I included in my petition were directly to me.
Okay, all right. And when you say she also reaches out through mutual friends, are they passed on to you because the friends want you to know what's going on, or is it because then this is, I understand your opinion, because Miss Mills is contacting them knowing that they'll pass it on to you or directing them to pass it on to you?
I think the latter.
Okay, you think she's reaching out to friends, giving them information, knowing in other
Absolutely.
words that it's going to get to you.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Ms. Mills, do you have any questions for Ms. Martin on the basis for the PPO?
Yeah, I have a lot.
Okay, go ahead.
So you stated at the basis that I showed up to your house banging on your door. Can you tell the judge why I was at your house that day?
Yep, because my husband had custody and time with his child. and she showed up there because she didn't want the baby at my house. The police showed up because we called them because she would not leave. And it was my husband's time with his child. He had full right to have the baby there. And she didn't like it because she doesn't like our relationship, like I said before. And the police came and made you leave because
So-
he had right to be there.
Right. So then the other question I have was, at that time, was your now husband dating me 3 weeks after we just had that baby, or was he dating you? And
Me.
I was, oh, he was dating you, but living with me?
You
At
had
that
moved
time?
out.
No, I hadn't at that time. That was August.
It
I moved
doesn't
out
matter. This
in
part doesn't
October
matter.
2022.
Okay, can't have you both talking at the same time. So we just have to, one question at a time. And what you're trying to establish, it sounds like, Miss Mills, is that there was still an acrimonious relationship between you and Miss Martin's now husband,
Correct.
because of you just had a baby, but he was being unfaithful with Miss Martin.
Correct.
Okay, all right. No, I get that now. And I had a couple of questions, Miss Martin. Is that your house that Miss Mills showed up at, or is
Yes.
it
It's
your
mine.
husband's? Okay,
It's
it's
mine.
in your name, in other words? Okay. All right. You can continue, Miss Mills.
The other question I had was the messages that were sent to you on Instagram. Did you or did you not respond to them, making it
I responded once
multiple times? Okay.
regarding the birthday party. And I was not being friendly with you. I stated facts that there was no birthday party because you wouldn't stop reaching out to my husband and he does not want anything to do with you. And so when you said, Phil won't respond to me, I said, right, there's no birthday party. This isn't happening. There is no plans. And I did not respond after that. And I kept getting messages.
Okay. You claim that Phil doesn't want anything to do with any contact of our son. Are you aware of the fact that Phil showed up here last week?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't say he doesn't want anything to do with his son. I said he doesn't want anything to do with you.
So then my messages to you, are they or are they not just about my son and time with
They are
his
not
father?
about your son. They
He
are
has-
not.
The judge has copies of those messages.
Yeah,
so he
good.
can
And he can read that it's not about your son.
Mhm. I think it's about the co-parenting, the relationship between us, and then making sure that my son is
And then, Rachel, I do have to say,
safe.
if it's about your son, it needs to go through Phil. I've asked you many times not to contact me. And
Have you,
last time we
though?
were before
I
the,
don't
yes,
have
and
those
last time before we
messages.
were the judge, last time, he said, you don't need to contact me. We have nothing to talk about. If you need to talk about your custody issues, that needs to go through my husband,
Which they
not
do.
me, not me.
Which they do. They do.
Great. Then why are you reaching out to me? I've
Because
asked you not to.
All right. I'm only asking questions, so I don't need to make my statements.
Okay.
Okay. Well, any additional questions at this time?
Which friends have I reached out to? Because I'm unaware
Ray,
of which friends.
Brandon, Ari,
So is
Brooke,
Ari, how are you in a friendship with Ari, being that that's somebody that is having an alleged relationship with your husband?
we're your mutual acquaintances. We have talked.
So when Ari
So don't
sends
even worry about it.
our messages that are about her baby with your husband, is she also sharing those with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I wouldn't call Ari her friend, being that she.
I just called her a mutual acquaintance.
Okay. So
Yeah.
my text messages with Ari were not deliberately sent about you. They were about her relationship with Phil. Were they or were they
Then
not?
I don't know why you sent them to me.
I didn't send them to you.
Okay.
Did
Well,
I?
then why did you include them in this
Because
case?
you did. On your petition, you sent one of Kate or one of Ari's messages between her and I. It's the one that you labeled as crazy person at the top. That's me and Ari.
I did not
communicating.
label that. I did not have that one. That was in the petition from Phil, not me. That was
Well,
a whole different-
no, but you included it in our petition. It's in our paperwork.
Okay, well then I included it because of the Facebook post that you made about me and my husband.
And I proved that I didn't make that. So
You posted in that.
and I'm
yes.
allowed to post about my
And I'm saying that
experience
you were
with
talking
Phil.
about us.
Am I or am I not?
You are
am I-
talking about us, and that's
But-
all I'm saying.
Am I or am I not allowed to talk about to other people my relationship with
Because you
Phil?
brought my name into that. So no, you are not.
You were a huge, okay, then the other question I have is, were you or were you not my friend between the
I was
months of
not.
December 21 to
I
March
was not your
22?
friend. I
So
was
then
not.
why do we have text messages with you saying, I love you, Rachel. I want what's best for you, Rachel. Why did you
Because
take
I
me
say
out
that
to
to
dinner
everyone.
in March 2022? Why
Judge,
did
I'm
you-
not getting a clear record.
Yeah, we
Maybe
gotta
this
only have
meeting
one
is-
person talk at the same
Then can
time.
she ask one question, please, and not just ramble?
Yeah, if just one question and then allow Ms. Martin an opportunity to get the answer out, and then you can ask another question.
Right. So then I was asking a question that had multiple answers within the one. Caitlin, you claim we're not friends,
We're
but
not.
there are multiple text messages between us that have talked about our friendship. There's multiple Instagram conversations between us that have talked about our friendships. You and I have had multiple calls between December 21 and March of 22 that talked about my relationship. You were somebody that told me that I could rely on you to come to about my relationship with Phil. Also, on top of that, there are various pictures of the two of us between December 21 and March of 22 that showed a friendship. Is there or not?
So that's 3 months, and we had all mutual friends, correct, at the time. And yeah, we could have been friends, but you lied and manipulated your way through everyone, which is why nobody talks to you anymore. So was there maybe a time where we could have been considered friends? Sure, but we were never good friends.
Did you or did you not in your petition say that you were afraid of me since
I am.
January 2022?
I am.
But
And I
then
have-
why are you saying that we
Because
could
you
have been
locked
friends
me
in
into a
March
bathroom.
Hang on,
2022?
one at a time, please.
Because you locked me into a bathroom.
I didn't block you
People
into a
had, yes,
bathroom,
you
but that's
did.
Okay,
No,
well,
I
think
have
we're getting
witnesses to
outside
that account.
the stuff that we have in the protective order here, because it sounds like that's quite a bit earlier than I granted the PPO anyway. So any additional questions, try to keep them around the incidents that are the basis for the PPO, which is the, appearance at Ms. Martin's house, and then secondarily, unwanted electronic messages.
Can I speak to those two situations or do I only?
Yeah, I'm
look
gonna
at
have you
questions?
testify next, and then I'll make my ruling, but I just want to give you a chance. Do you have any more questions for Ms. Martin?
No, I'll just make my statements.
All right,
after.
let me swear you in, and you can make your statement if you'd raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
So I sent a huge 1,000-word apologies to that kind of briefly explained this situation. I do feel like the premises of the original PPO was manipulated by Mrs. Martin, Miss Anderson at the time, to force a little bit of control. She lied about a situation in regards to my son being at her house, saying that I did show up and scare her child, when really I showed up and knocked on the door asking for my child back, because as a first-time mom who had no awareness of the fact that my child was going anywhere but her grandma's, it was a fearful time for me. There was also a recent lie that she told in the beginning of this, stating that I tracked her down from her house to my son, or to my son's father's work, then back to her work, or vice versa, or however it went. And I would like to clarify that I was going to my son's father's job to take lunch and meet up with him because our son was not feeling well. and I showed up and she was there. This was during the time that I was dating my son's father. She had no business being there, and she manipulated it to look otherwise, which
They
was
don't
found
work
true.
at the same location, Miss
No.
Martin?
They do
Okay.
not. I have no idea where Mrs. Martin works. I don't live in live in Grand Rapids. I live in Detroit. So on the premises of why this is being extended, I have absolutely no idea. Her husband tried to come after me with a PPO that was denied about a month before, on the basis that he was trying to shut me up for something that I had no part of, in which the judge threw out very quickly.
Which judge had that one assigned?
I believe it was Rebecca. I put it in the motion statement, the number of that. And so immediately after he got it thrown out, he texted me saying that he didn't have to worry about getting a PPO against me because another person got it and it was granted immediately upon request, showing that he had something to do with Caitlin Martin's PPO against me and that they were trying to come after me. I do believe that this is a manipulation of the law, and I do believe that this is unfortunately an abuse of the system. I do not live in Grand Rapids. I don't communicate with the people in Grand Rapids. If people of my son's father's friends reach out to me, it's solely about my son and asking how we're doing. I don't talk to anybody that's over there. I choose not to because I have moved on. I've been dating over here. I've been working over here. I live in Novi. I've completely removed myself. And where I'm having difficulties right now is trying to form a very healthy co-parenting relationship. And I'm finding that there's a lot of miscommunication between my son's father and his wife. And she can say otherwise, but it's really dampering a relationship because he is unable to come to places because of her feelings towards me. And that was the reason why I reached out in January, was to literally ask to just let this go so we can all have a healthy start, all move forward, and allow there to be time for my son to be with his father, because it is clearly becoming apparent that her issues with me are one-sided and really putting a damper on anything moving forward. I am just literally trying to move on.
Is your concern, not to be clear, Ms. Mills, about your time with your son or about your son having an adequate amount of time with your ex?
So I have sole custody with my son with supervised
you've got it.
visits. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I have sole custody with supervised visits with me. So if Phil has access to my child, unfortunately, I have to be there. And part
That is
of the
not true
reason,
because we
yes,
had
it
him
is.
Well,
overnight.
hang on, I'll hear it and then you can respond, Ms. Martin.
Yes, it is. He did have him overnight. I granted him an overnight because he asked, and I thought it would be fine, which was before the issues that took place on my son's birthday,
Mhm.
and which I was very much told by my son's father that she wanted nothing to do with my son. So I stopped allowing overnights due to that, because I did not feel comfortable with my son being in that house. Also, I am friends with other parents that are in the mother circle that don't also feel comfortable. So there's other issues that are along with that. That's why I took away the overnights. Basically, with this, I feel like, what's the way that I can put it? I want nothing to do with my son's father in a romantic way, and I've made that very clear. My ex was abusive towards me in multiple ways. I moved out in October 22, and there were several incidents that took place afterwards that really reminded me that this was not somebody I wanted to be with. And I have been dating, I have been living over here. There is zero interest in me being with my son's father. So when it comes to the co-parenting, I have to put aside my distaste for my son's father in order for us to healthy have a co-parent. And so when I say that I would like to move forward and have a very, like, allow him to be in my son's life, it's only for my son's being. It's not for my choice. If it was my choice, it wouldn't be the case. My friend of court says otherwise. I have to abide by those rules. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I think I kind of understand what you're saying about it. Is really in your mind, it revolves around your son and the parenting time that may or may not occur with his dad.
yeah.
All right. And Miss Martin, is that your perception as well, or is there more to
No.
it than that?
That there's way more to it than that. Um, but honestly, like if it is about co-parenting, do it with him. Like stop involving me. There's no reason that your child couldn't be here. We have his other son here all the time, and I love him. And I have 4 children of my own that are here all the time. I'm not a bad mother. I've never had anything said negatively about my parenting. I love your son because he's a product of my husband. When he was here for that night, we had a great time. He got to bond with my kids and we all loved it. But she does not want me involved. So that birthday party she's talking about, it was just supposed to be with my husband, her child, and his side of the family. I was not invited. So that's why my husband said we're not doing a party, because I'm not having a party for my son without my wife being there.
So I'm going to correct you on that. There are plenty of text messages where I've told Phil to bring you. And then in my message, after I messaged you on Instagram, I said I would have loved to have you both there. So that might have been your misconception, unfortunately, but you've always been included in those. I invited you to the one in Detroit that Phil said no. And he said, the only way I'm comfortable coming is with Caitlin. And I said, go ahead and bring her. There's messages that say that.
All right. Well, I don't think we're going to get to the bottom of the entirety of the relationship during this hearing, and I do have other hearings to get to. But I guess what I am hearing here is, obviously, given the nature of the relationship, and that, the ex was involved with you. You got a baby together with him, and then at some point, entered into a relationship with Miss Martin, and that undoubtedly, as inevitably in that situation, it creates some hard feelings. And it creates a special difficulty when you've got a baby, a little kid to be concerned about, and she making sure where they are, and that they're with people that at least you are supportive, that you believe are safe for your child, as any parent would want to do. And I think that's what resulted in the initial incident here of going to the house. But nonetheless, of course, Miss Martin would be, as anyone would, to have someone, appear at their house, knock on their door and kind of confront them about, what's going on with parenting time, a situation that they might not know about, that would be at least startling, or feel like harassment. Secondarily, the messages, and it's not the first case where I've seen it, where, oftentimes I say, it seems to me like probably, some of the women get along. However, the one person that's absent I don't hear from here is Phil, the guy who was involved with both of you and may or may not respond to messages himself. And of course, it's natural when you don't get that. Well, gee, just like if I can't get a hold of one of my kids and I know they're with another one, I might call them or text them and say, hey, are you with this? Can you ask them this question? Well, unfortunately, in this relationship, that's just not going to work that way, because of the way the relationship started. And it's just simply to involve Miss Martin in any of those communications is only going to create more distrust and acrimony, I think, because, and of course, since she is still married to your ex, anything that's critical of him, or talking down to him, if it goes to her, well, she's going to respond to it naturally. So I'm going to leave the protective order in place at this time. I do think there are 2 incidents that would support the issue of the protective order. However, I'm doing note here, these don't last forever, and it also is, people get all worried about protective orders, but the truth is, of course, it's a civil case. It's not a criminal record or a bad mark, in anyone's file. I do note that the protective order does prohibit you from purchasing or possessing a firearm. Is that something that's important to you, Ms. Mills? Do I need to delete that provision? I haven't heard any mention of, some of these do involve people who are threatening to kill each other. However, I do understand there is disagreement and bad blood here, but I don't think either of you are going to murder the other person. Is that important to you, or should I delete that provision, Ms. Mills?
How long is this going to be held for?
It's going to
Because
remain in
this is
place,
gonna be,
under its terms, it remains in place. Actually, did I extend? I don't think I've granted an extension on this, so actually, this one, expired on March the 17th of this year. Or no, I'm sorry, I signed it on March the 17th. It expires then on, September 17th of this year. So it'll remain in place, essentially, through the next, start of the next school year. So, do you want me to delete the firearm provision?
yes, because just in case I need to,
Arm yourself
unfortunately.
for any given reason. Well, I
Yeah.
don't think it would create a danger to anyone here, and it is a constitutional right, and I haven't heard anything about firearms involved. So
No.
I'll delete that provision. Otherwise, it'll remain the same. It'll remain in place until September 17th. And basically, it just says, don't initiate contact. And, importantly, when you do have a circle of friends, sometimes I know in electronic contact, if you say the other person's name or you refer to a situation, it could only be the other person. You post a picture of them or their child or whatever. Well, in this case, it's your, you're not her child, it's your and your husband's. But if you post something that only could refer to them, it's easy to say, well, that was meant to be passed on to me. Now, that may or may not be your intention, but nonetheless, the most cautionary way to approach those electronic communications is just not to mention her or write things in there that would say, as you pointed out, your husband, at least doesn't have this protective order against you, and exes, in general, are probably fair game for bad comments, but not necessarily Miss Martin. So, and that requires some caution because, of course, they are married, they share the same last name. So you just want to be cautious that nothing could be construed as against her. And Ms. Martin, if you wish to, if there are any additional incidents between now, I don't think these incidents are sufficient to extend the expiration date of the protective order at this time. However, if there are additional incidents between now and the expiration, you can file for an extension, and I'll evaluate it. And Ms. Mills, you have the right to object to the extension as well, and we would conduct another hearing like this. But for now, it'll remain in place. I'll just modify it to take off the weapons provision.
So then, sir, I have a couple of questions for you.
Yep.
Just want to clarify with the understanding, both the situations where she said I knocked on her door and knocked on her door and knocked on her window took place in 2022. She has that listed, correct?
I can't recall the exact dates, and I think as I'm thinking through this order, it was a scenario where I had granted one, and I don't remember if it was objected to, and I didn't, I terminated it, or exactly how it, it panned out. But it appeared, as Ms. Martin testified today, that the situation had ended. So I said, okay, you're in different locations, we don't need it anymore. And then I think the electronic situation started up again. Yeah. So let's see here. It does, let's
Yeah.
see.
Because that was all from the original.
Right.
PPO
And
that
so
I had in
then,
place.
the other question I have is the last message I had to her was, I believe, January of 2024.
No,
Okay.
Or was it January,
25.
It was December 2024. So if I haven't had contact with her like that, we're still worried about me having contact still?
It was
Yes,
after that.
well,
Okay.
that's the impact of the order, is simply just do not contact her.
Okay, and then so how do we find a way to mutually have a healthy balance here? Because if my son is, if we're, I guess, what what does it look like moving forward once September happens so we don't get here again? Because I feel like there's no way for us to have complete separation that this PPO is asking,
Yeah.
with my son's father and my son being related.
Yeah, no, and you're going to obviously have to communicate with your son's father regarding parenting time and things of that nature. However, you should simply not include Miss Martin. She clearly doesn't want to be in the middle of that relationship, nor does she want to be kind of a reference point or a touchstone. Now, you do have sole custody of your son, so you are able to, within the dictates of your custody and your friend of the court order, set the terms for interactions with your son and his dad. But right, you're just not allowed, and you'll have to structure that in a way that doesn't involve Ms. Martin. And I know that's tricky to do in a situation like that, and the two of them are married, but you're going to have to
Right.
find a way forward. And
Right.
unfortunately, it may mean less time, because it gets more complicated that your son has with his dad. That may be to his detriment, but as I said, the protective order isn't forever, and after 2025, I would think that what I would do is I would leave it to, Miss Martin to reach out to you, if she gets to a point where she thinks, there's a basis to restart a relationship to talk about, for your kid's taking medicine and she's going to be in charge of that or whatever.
Right.
Let her initiate it and make the contact and try to rebuild some of the trust. Because I'd say, that's the number one thing now is that's
Well,
been is the trust, and you're going to have to try to rebuild that after a timeout period.
so then my question with that is, because I have her blocked on all social media due to this situation, is I don't want to be back in your courtroom again for anything of, in my opinion, civil conversations that I'm trying to have moving forward. And so I'm I'm trying
Well,
to
the only
avoid
civil
moving.
conversations that'll get you back here on this order are conversations with Miss Martin. So just, don't have those, at least until after the order expires in September. And after September, I would leave it in her court to reinitiate it, because the truth is, when you've got an old protective order that's been granted, it's okay for me to look back at the old order and say, well, there were problems back then and there are additional problems now. And then I can, kind of stack them on top of each other to create the instances. Once I've granted an order and put it in place, and kept it in place, then, its basis can be, in effect used again. Now it gets older, and, if you, something very minor happens 10 years down the road, it's pretty hard to establish another protective order on the former basis. But like this one, if things get bad again, well, she's got a quick basis to come into court because she's already had one, to obtain a protective order. So, like I say, you've got kind of the most to lose in the situation. Thus the pressure's on you to, avoid initiating contact.
So then the other question I have is, one of the biggest concerns that both Phil and Caitlin had were this whole Facebook post that showed up. Am I or am I not allowed to talk about my experience that I've had in that dating realm?
You mean with Phil?
Not when it
Yeah.
involves me.
But you
Yeah,
are
but not, yeah, I mean, yeah, I would not involve Miss Martin. And by involving her, I mean not mentioning her name, and also not creating a situation where I said, well, and then she took up with this lady who lived at such and so an address, and it can only be her. I mean, people try to get creative, and I encourage them not to do that, because then I get tempted to get frustrated and impose, fines and stuff like that, which I don't want to do. So.
And so if we just continue doing what I've been doing for the past 6 months, we'll be okay.
Well, I would say if you completely cut Miss Martin out of any of your communications,
Which
right?
I
And it
have.
sounds like you have. Sounds like you'll be fine with continuing until September. And if there are violations, like I say, I'm sure I'll hear from Miss Martin. So, and I'd rather not do that too. I'd rather have this thing die down and eventually turn into a civil kind of relationship between adults. But sometimes that takes time. So.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, ladies. I appreciate
Thank you.
your civility during the hearing today, and with that, we are concluded.
Thank you so much.
This matter comes before the court because Ms. Dalton filed a motion to terminate a protective order that I granted in favor of Ms. Kendall. Actually, I'm not sure if I granted it or if one of my colleagues granted it. One of the judges of the circuit signed a protective order. Looks like actually it was Judge West back in April, granting a protective order. So as an initial matter, I'm going to request that both of you state and spell your names for the record. We can begin with Ms. Kendall.
Yeah, yes. My name is Audrey Kendall. Audrey Harris Kendall, spelled Audrey, Harris, Harris, Kendall, Kendall.
Thank you, ma'am. And Ms. Dalton.
I'm Jamie Dalton, Jamie Dalton, D as in David, Alton.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Kendall, this is your PPO that was granted. And what I'm going to do is swear you in and have you state the basis for it without reading it directly from the PPO. And then I'll allow Ms. Dalton to ask you any questions she has. I might ask you some questions, and then Ms. Dalton can make a statement, and then I can rule on whether the PPO remains in place or not. So, Ms. Kendall, if you'd raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very good. And Ms. Kendall, can you tell me why you sought out to get a PPO in the first place?
Yeah. Well, I can start with saying that on the 26th, I went to Miss Dawson's home after finding out that my husband had been there when he should have been at work, and I just talked to him. So like I said, curiosity got the best of me. I did go over there. I wasn't sure what house it was, but I did go over to see if he was there, and no one was there. So I left to take care of errands. On the way back, I seen a lady standing out by one of those homes. I went near there and I asked her, did she know my husband? She said no. And I said, thank you. And I left. That's the last time that I've seen her. Still didn't know anything about her or my husband, but circle back. I mean, 3 weeks later, my husband confessed to he had been seeing Ms. Dalton, that they had an affair. And my husband, I guess he broke it off with her. He told her I was there. He told her not to call anymore, that he didn't want to see her anymore, that it was wrong. Ms. Dalton stated that I'm going to call. I'm going to continue to call with a few choice words. And she also stated that she knew where I lived, and that she's cocked and loaded, that she would shoot me and kill me. And that was concerning and scary to me. I don't know if she carries or anything like that, but I have never threatened her. I have never at all, harassed her. I mean, if there's a problem with her and my husband, he stated he never harassed her. That's between them. I have nothing to do. Whatever they did, I had no knowledge of it. And I'm just finding out, like I said, 3 weeks later after I came to her home. But it was like 3 weeks later on the 21st when she went and made a police report and I put a PP out on me. But, that's after my husband told her that he didn't want to see her no more. I don't know why she didn't make that report when I was over on the 26th, because she knew that I was no harm to her in no way, form, or fashion. And so, I mean, she called, making emails. I have calls way after the 21st from April to April 8th that she still was calling. We had to get 2 new phones. She had gotten a new phone number. These are old phones that we had to keep getting because she would call each time, get the number, call his job, sending information to my husband's. He works for the school part-time, and she sent recording because she called and wanted to talk with him. And I said, look, tell her to stop calling. And she heard he and I had a heated argument. She recorded it and sent the recording to his school, as well as, like I said, emailing him at his job. So there's a lot of stuff in here that, I couldn't even submit to you, that she just keep harassing us.
Okay,
And I just-
well, and I mean, primarily, it sounds like your concerns, the threat, she threatened to shoot you. That was one of
Yes,
the, in there. And then, uh, other, text messages or
right,
driving, past your house,
right.
after this all started. So, all right, Ms. Dalton, do you have any questions for Ms. Kendall?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I do have questions, from Ms. Kendall. I never told you I was going to kill you. Actually, I never spoke with you. There was screaming by you on March 17th when Zach called my phone or you called my phone. And there was a lot of screaming going in the background, and I was confused as to what was going on because he and I had been communicating that afternoon. So when I got the call that evening on March 17th, I'm answering the phone, and all I hear in the background is you're screaming, saying, are you, pardon me, Judge, are you effing this B? You're messing with my husband. And at that time, I didn't know that he was married. But Audrey, to testify under oath, to say that I said I was going to kill you is false. What
Okay, well, and you, yeah, I mean, was that a question?
I'm sorry. I apologize. That was a rant, but Audrey, did I verbally tell you that I was going to kill you?
Yes, you did. You told me that you did. You sent that. You sent this information. You sent this paper with question marks where you know where I live. I don't even know you. This is my first time really seeing you. I don't know who you are. Your problems are with my husband, what you and him had for a year. Has nothing to do with me. I never threatened you, Jamie. I never harassed you. If you can show and pull up anything, I told you. I sent a few messages when you continued to call. I said, Jamie, stop calling, my home. Stop calling them. Yes, I did, Jamie. I have all the information. I have all
The
the
judge has it too.
paperwork,
The judge has it too.
so
Okay,
you
hang on
continue.
just a second. Ms. Dalton, I do one of the messages that Miss Kendall attached here. It looks like it is a screenshot. It is, it looks like, and I can't tell if it's from, it looks like 616-634-3301, stating if she, your woman, your wife, come near my home, I will consider as being an intruder or stalker and protect myself by any means necessary. I am locked and loaded, with a picture not of you. It just looks like it's a GIF image. Did you send that one, Miss Dalton?
I sent that to Zach.
Okay, so that's your testimony. Well, it looks like it's addressed to Mr. Harris, but now, okay, all right, and yeah, I mean, he communicated it to his wife. I guess the expectation would be, if you really wanted to stop doing that, probably you'd expect that he would, tell her, gee, don't go by her house, she's going to shoot you, kind of thing. I mean, am I reading it wrong?
No, the interpretation is that I have a gun, and I actually filed the initial PPO on March 21st, Judge. And so when Miss Harris Kendall came and filed her PPO in April and alleged that I was going to kill her, that's a serious allegation that she made. I never talked to her. This is the first time I'm talking to her today, other than her scream. I'm talking. Other than her screaming in the background. I sent that to Zach because Miss Harris Kendall Harris went to my neighbor's home on 2 different occasions, on the 25th and the 26th. My neighbors called me. At the time, I didn't know anything about her. Zach then called me and asked me what was my address, and that after she left my home, he said she came by. He told me, he confirmed that was her, and she came by my home. At that time, he was still denying that he was married. So I didn't know the relationship because he and I was just together that morning. So I had said to him, do not have her come to my home anymore, and I put in my PPO on March 21st that you should have. I have a CCW and it's licensed. I see clients in the community. I testify against clients. I don't know who's coming up to me. She asked me, was my name Lisa Reed? And I said no. She asked me if I worked at Turning Point. I said, no. She said, what is your name? And I said, why? She said, because you look familiar. And I said, my name is Jamie. She said, oh, and she then pulled off. I don't know this lady. I don't know. I'm in the community. I work with people I testify against all the time. So I have no idea who she is. And so I then said to Zach in a text, I said, if she, once I found out who she was, if she comes to my house again, be it she's your woman, wife, or whomever, I am going to protect myself at any means necessary.
Yeah, you don't know who she is, and right, you're still getting clear as to whether he's got a wife and what the relationship's like. Well, what's the response on that, Ms. Kendall, that
Well,
all these
I want,
communications were directed to Mr. Harris?
I'm sorry, can you say it again, Your Honor?
Well, yeah, I mean, she's claiming she directed the messages not as threats to you, but as information she was sending to Mr. Harris, not even knowing who you were at the time.
That's not true.
Yeah,
That's not true, because after that, she and that phone it's my phone. What's my husband's mine. What's mine is his, and that phone was there. And when she sent, that's how I know she was calling and sending messages. And that is the reason why I said, honey, can you please tell her, Miss Jamie, not to call anymore. She has a recording of my husband and I arguing, and it's from the same phone that she texts, locked and loaded, and that she know where we live. And like, and she was so threatening. I mean, like, I have all kind of messages here. I mean, there's tons and tons of paperwork she's continued to call. So I just wanted to know, I just want to ask her, that is she saying that I harassed her? If I was threatening her, Jamie, was I ever a threat or harm to you in any type of way? I mean, really?
well, and that, yeah, I mean, she's not asking for a
Yeah.
PPO
Well, she
here.
was a
This
harm
one's
to
on
me.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, she was a harm to me, because that's scary when somebody says that, that they will shoot you, because she verbally said it on the phone that I would kill you
Oh
if
my
you come to
God.
my home. You did say that. Yeah,
Oh
you
my
did.
God.
Okay, and you're saying she said that directly to you as
Yes,
well,
she
Ms.
did.
Kendall?
Yeah,
In a
yes,
phone call?
Your Honor.
Okay.
She said that I have a lot of calls that she continues to call that number. Like I said, these are the phones we had to get. This is the phone right here that she would call.
Is that your phone or your husband's phone?
This is our phone. This is my husband has his phone right here. Matter of fact, he has a new phone because she called this job and got the new number for this phone. Was the second phone that he got, and then he had to. Now this is no good, so he has a new number where he told his job to not give out that number. Everyone is to call the job, the work number, not his personal number.
And when are the most recent calls that came to the phone that they could be, well, I mean, if it's a mutual phone, it's hard to say. When did she make the threat that she was going to shoot you?
Well, she made the threat. I'm gonna look on the date. Let me see. This was like, I think like March the 19th to 18, 19, 20, something like that. When she said that she would kill me. I mean, like when she verbally said it, it was even after that. She made this, tell your wife. I mean, like, not, she didn't say tell your wife, but I'm cocked and loaded and I will kill you. But then she made a verbal, she said it verbally. This was actually when she called again, when my husband and I were arguing. She called a couple times that day, 2 or 3 times that day. And I was just frustrated, that he and I was arguing. I'm like, I'm tired of calling. He said, I told her not to call. And she continued to call. And that's when she said, well, I will shoot you, because she and I had a little altercation. I wouldn't say big, I would just, look, stop calling my home. I'm calling my husband. I mean, she responded and kept calling emails up until April 10th. Up until April the 10th, I guess. I think that was probably the last time that we heard anything from her. But, she just, telling him how much she loves him and this and that.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's difficult in these cases, and but important, because a personal protective order is personal. It prohibits her from
But I'm
reaching out to
scared.
you, but not to him, even
But
though
I'm
he's your
scared.
husband.
I'm scared.
Yeah,
That if
I
someone
get it.
said that, these days, you got to take that serious. If someone's saying that to you, when I had never threatened her anything, I don't know what reason she would have to want to shoot me. There's nothing at all that she can say that I threatened her or harmed her or harassed her at all, you know. But to say that and then have my address with 5 to 6 question marks, that's scary. You know,
All right.
I don't get off into that right there. And I don't go around harming people or hurting people.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Dalton. Why don't you make your final statement and I can make a ruling here.
Okay, because this is ridiculous. Your Honor, I brought to your courtroom a stack of information showing that the communication between me and Zach went on via email. I came to your courtroom and I sat there last week with this information. I gave it to your clerk. So
Yeah, and I did get it in the file. It hasn't been introduced into evidence in the matter, and I don't know that it needs to necessarily be, because really what I need is information from Miss Kendall, you know, kind of explaining the basis for the order here. And she's explained thus far that you know, she got concerned by the combination of messages and then phone conversations that she perceived as threatening and harassing. So I mean, I think that's, and you deny, you do say you did send the one message saying, hey, I don't know who the lady is, but if she comes on my premises, you know, I'm going to defend myself. But you deny saying to her in as many words, I'm going to, you know, affirmatively find you and shoot you. Is
no.
is that right, Ms. Dalton?
That is correct. I never said that. And that's such a serious allegation. If Miss Kendall heard me say that, that is so serious that she should have, if she said that was on March 18th, 19th, she waited until April to file this PPO and police report saying I said that. So if she wanted to defend herself, if she was so fearful of me, she would have did that immediately, and the police would have been at my door, because I do have a pistol, but I keep it at home. I don't take it out in public. And she's saying that I came to her home. I've never been to her home, but she's been to my home. She's been to my home, as evidenced by video footage on my neighbor's camera. She came to my home on more than one occasion. She doesn't have video footage of me doing that. She does not have an audio, a voicemail message of me saying I'm going to kill her, using those words, quote unquote, kill her. She does not even have anything via text or email with me indicating that. What she did was she took a pen and she wrote it on her PPO in big letters, kill, so it'll look like I'm this aggressive person that I am not.
Right.
And I know her husband is
Right.
sitting next to her because I heard his voice, and he should attest to that and tell the truth. I never said that.
You did say that. If you want him to
Alright.
come right here, he heard you say that, Jamie.
He did
All
not.
right, well, I don't want
He
to,
did say that.
yeah, I want to,
But it's not
You know,
necessary.
yeah, let's keep that. Well,
It's between you and I.
Ms. Kendall, you pointed out at some point that there was a message with your address and exclamation points. Did you send a message like that, Ms. Dalton?
Never.
Okay, and did you provide me with a copy of that, Ms. Kendall? You're muted, Ms. Kendall. Let me see. This is one of the messages that you attached to your original PPO, or is it somewhere after you filed for the PPO? All right, because I'm not seeing that the address thing in here. My place, okay. I do see you pointing. Could you hold it a little closer to the camera, please? Still live on DAWs? Question. Okay. All right. And the question was, and your allegation, Ms. Kendall, is that was sent to you or your husband, the question about living on DAWs. You're muted, Ms. Kendall.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Did that message that you just showed me, was that addressed to you or to your husband?
That was sent to me because on this phone, she knows this, that on that same phone, there's time when I run the phone down, you can see that I'm telling her, Jamie, stop calling me and my husband and texting.
Yeah, it's in your voice.
This is me on that phone. So yes, that was sent to me. She know I uses that phone. I've sent messages to her in regards to, you know, to don't call anymore.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
my husband at the time had a whole new number, you
All
know,
right.
so he wasn't, he had a whole new number.
All right. Well, here's what my ruling is going to be. I mean, the basis for the PPO requires two or more instances of conduct that a average person would consider harassing or threatening behavior. And in this case, unfortunately, it's unclear to me who these messages were directed to. I get it that you guys share a phone. However, it appears that the messages were primarily, at least from the name at the top of the messages attached to the PPO, directed to Mr. Harrison. In fact, they appear to be, printed off Mr. Harris's screenshot account or whatever and sent on here. And some of it is in Mr. Harris's voice. Some of it is the subsequent messages are in your own voice, enough to hear that, when confronting a situation here that
Right,
involved a extramarital affair, very normal that
right.
discussions got heated or animated.
But my husband filed a PPO himself in regards to this too, and you guys denied his because she not only harassing me but harassing her. He couldn't understand why his was denied because she just continued to call and call.
Well,
Here's
the
I know
remedy
you got
there
this right
is to
here.
appeal the
You know,
denial.
I mean,
Um,
like a
if he,
crazy woman.
yeah, well,
With a
if
married man.
he's got a beef with it. If he really wants his PPO to stick, then what he's got to do is appeal the denial of the
Yeah, you got to
PPO.
appeal.
Can't argue it through a kind of side door through a PPO directed to you. But I can't find in this case that there's a preponderance that that harassment, as it were, was directed to you individually during that time. So I am going to terminate this PPO at this time. However, it's crystal clear to me, that there's still hard feelings, as anyone would expect in a
Mhm.
situation like this. And I certainly think that the both of you would be well advised not to contact each other. I can't, order that, in a formal way until someone requests a PPO and supplies the sufficient evidence. And on top of it, Mr. Harris is, also involved in this thing, and
Okay.
obviously had a denied PPO, but
Yes.
he has a time frame to appeal that.
Mhm.
So
Well,
in
I
any
have a
case,
question.
yeah,
I have a
but
question for you, Your Honor, before you rule. But I had she has a PP out on me too. So I filed a motion to have mine terminated. I don't know
yep.
if you can if you had a chance to
Ms.
look at
Dalton,
that.
is your PPO still in place?
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Against Ms. Kendall. Okay. Well, you can file however, there is a strict timeline to do that. It's a 14-day timeline.
I already did
It may
that.
be too late to request the termination of it. So,
Mhm.
undoubtedly the, best thing to do in that situation is not violate it because.
Well, that's fine. But I've already filed mine. So I don't know if you was gonna do the same thing again. So
Yep, no, and like I say, if additional incidents occur down the road, I certainly would consider them. But I'm going to terminate this one at the time, just because I can't determine, if those messages were directed towards you or your husband. So this one's concluded, and like I say, I think kind of both parties, all parties keeping distance from each other
mhm,
is in everyone's
most
best interest
definitely.
going forward. So
Yeah.
thank you, ladies. We
Thank you so
appreciate
much,
it.
Your Honor. Have a good one.
This matter comes before the court on two matters today. The first is a motion by the respondent, Ms. Brown, to terminate this personal protective order. And second, there is a claim by petitioner, Ms. Moody, that Ms. Brown violated the protective order. I am I'll consider the motion to terminate the order first. And with that, the burden is on you, Ms. Moody, to explain why you got the protective order in the first place. I can ask you some questions, and Ms. Brown can also ask you questions, and then both of you can make statements under oath and I can make a ruling. So as an initial matter then, Ms. Moody, if you please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And could you state and spell your full name for the record, please?
My name is Elisa Moody, first name Elisa, last name Moody.
Very good. And Ms. Moody, would you explain to me as straightforward as you can, why did you get a protective order in this matter?
Back in 2020, my son's dad, I guess, started dating Anazia, and from that point on, I started receiving harassing phone calls and text messages. It proceeded on for years. The harassing and constantly calling, sending explicit photos of my son, dad to my mother, my grandmother, my friends. It just wouldn't stop.
Okay, and let's see here. And you said also calling your job with false accusations. What's that about?
Oh, I said, okay, so once I noticed that Anazia had moved on my route, to protect myself and my job, I filed the personal protection order, and this is actually the second one that I have filed. The first one in 21 got denied. So just to protect myself from, any unnecessary drama, I just wanted to avoid all of that. Yeah.
Okay. And that's because you said during some of these telephone conversations, she stated she would physically hurt you.
Yes, we had a few phone conversations that led to heated arguments and threats of fighting and violence.
When was the most recent conversation like that you can recall?
The last one was in the summer of 24. I can't think of the exact month, but I know it was in the summertime. I was leaving work and I got a call from an unknown number again, stating not to call my son, dad.
Shut the door.
Okay, and you're gonna have to mute Miss Brown, or I'll have to mute
I'm
you. 'Cause I'm getting,
sorry.
extra noise. I get it. All right, so so summer of 2024, and what did she threaten to do physically?
Just fight.
Okay. And how about before that? When was the the last time before summer 2024? Because in summer 2024 was, well, coming up on a year ago. How about
Yep.
prior to that in terms of incidents of harassment there?
I know it was a few times in 24. Like I said, it's been going on for 5 years.
Okay, and you also mentioned
Nonstop.
some threats through social media. What did those look like?
I had a Facebook page. I deactivated the Facebook page. I was getting multiple messages from a fake account that she created of my son, dad. And that's the same account that was used to, harass my family members and friends also.
Okay, so your allegation is that she made a call to you from an unknown number and also created this Facebook page. So okay, do you have any questions, Miss Brown, to direct to Miss Moody? And you'll have to unmute if you do have any questions.
I don't have any questions, but I have some stuff to say.
Well, let me swear you in and hear your side of the story if you'd raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Miss Brown.
I'm gonna start off by saying this lady is lying on me. Like, seriously, I have not said nothing to her. And 17 or something, we had a little incident. I went through my child's father phone, and she's always bringing me up. So I text her from the phone, and I said, Can you please stop bringing me up? Like, why do you and his other baby mama always bring me up? So we left it at that. We never had no incident. I never knew this lady real name, never knew where she lived, never caught up to her job. I don't know her. Literally, like, I don't know what made her do this, right? And then I just feel like if I've been messing with her for that long, why is she just now doing it? If I'm so crazy and she's so scared of me and this been going on for so long, this should have been in play. She never tried to pin no PPO order out on me a couple of years ago and it got denied. This lady is full of crap, literally, because I haven't said nothing to her. Like, I don't have no problem with her.
All right, so you're denying that you ever called her from an unknown number and threatened to
Yes,
hurt her.
I am denying that.
And what about the Facebook posts on a Facebook account
Sir,
that
I
would
never
have pictures or things of that nature?
No, I never wrote her on Facebook. Like I said, the only time that I text her was from my child's father phone and said, "Can you stop mentioning me?" Because she was sending pictures of me saying I got caught stealing from the store. And this lady always mentioning me. I go through his phone, she's always talking about me. And it's like, she knows so much about me. I know nothing about her. I know nothing about her. This lady know everything about me, right? When she know my name, I didn't even know her name for real. Like, I don't know her. I didn't know her name was Elisa. I thought her name was Lisa. Like, and that's just from what he told me. She is full of crap. If I was being mean or I was bullying her, I feel like she should have been did this PPO order. We never had no conversations on the phone arguing. Like, where's the proof?
All right, well, she also cites an incident here, which she claims is a violation. This was more recent, April 17th of 25. I don't know, have you seen a copy of that motion to show cause?
No.
Well, she says
What
that
happened? Mason.
yeah, what it says here, I'll read it aloud, is that today on 4/17/2025, I was approaching my park part to deliver to the apartments that Anastasia
Yes.
resides at. Once I parked, Anastasia exits a vehicle that I parked behind and stares at me while jumping at me in a threatening
Oh my
manner.
God. Okay,
Okay,
so on this day, I was coming out my house and she was delivering the mail. I'm finna shut my door. This lady asked me, and I got it on my Ring camera and everything, so we can play this game.
That's
She
not
asked me,
that's
okay,
not
well,
the
no,
hang
day.
on,
because
I'll give
Elisa,
you,
you
No.
asked me, you said,
Miss,
Anasia, can we talk? I said, I don't want to talk to you. I said, so I can get in trouble, Elisa. I'm gonna show my Ring camera too because you funny. So she walks up to me and she say, Anasia, as I'm walking up to the door, she said, can we talk? I said, yeah. I said, but I don't want to get in trouble talking to you. She says, I don't have no problem with you. You even told me you were going to drop this. So did you or did you not say that, Elisa? Like, why are you doing this? You even called the police on me and told them that I'm messing with you. And what did they tell you? This is my house. At the end of the day, you full of crap and you wrong, for real,
all
for
right.
real.
Do-
Like,
You
all of
said
this
you
is
have
on
a,
camera.
do you have a copy of that Ring video that you can show me
Yes,
on
I
online?
do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I'm going to make sure I give that to y'all because she's playing a dirty game. She's trying to get me in trouble. You stopped me. And then you're
All
going to make
right.
a report? Like,
All right. Well, let
my
me hear what
sister was
Miss.
even here. She's a witness. Like, this lady, I'm pinning one out on her. That's what I need to do. For real, man.
All right.
Now,
Well,
this not funny. Stop laughing. I'm not playing.
yeah. No, what I think I need to do here is I'm going to need to take additional testimony about the violation, but let me hear from Miss Moody at this time.
You
What
stopped me.
your
What?
version of what happened. Go ahead,
Okay,
Miss Moody.
so the incident on 4/17 was the day after Anazia had served me these court papers to attend this hearing. The day that she is speaking of is another day that I was
Yep.
walking down the street, maybe about a week after the 17th of April from that incident you're speaking of. And I was delivering the mail and we was basically walking towards each other. And I was just like, Anazia, what's the problem? We had a whole conversation about the issue. She told me the reason that she did all of the constantly calling and harassing and things were because my son dad was cheating on her. And like I told her then, I said, I have nothing to do with that. I don't have drama issues with anyone. I don't deal with my son dad. I haven't dealt with him since I was pregnant with my son, and my son is about to be 15 years old next month. I did. She brought up the issue about when I had text my son dad. This was maybe in 2023. I had text my son dad a picture of her, asking was that her. That was all over Facebook. That was when I did have a Facebook page, and he said yeah or whatever. And I was like, well, apparently, he was like, what is that? I said, apparently she got caught stealing from a store. But I never knew about Anazia until I started getting the threatening phone calls and messages. I don't have a number to contact her to ever call her. I never knew about the girl till she, started calling me from getting my number out of my son dad's phone.
All right. Well, I think what we're gonna have to do here is I've heard enough testimony at this point to keep a protective order in place. I mean, I think that there clearly are some longstanding confrontations between the two of you, and you're gonna have to run into each other because Miss Moody's got the mail route that takes her past where you're living, Miss Brown. So you're gonna inevitably kind of be in the same circle, possibly crossing paths with each other. And I do find that there is justification to keep a protective order in place based on those past confrontations that the two of you have had. So I'm going to leave it in place at this time, and I'll hold a separate hearing on the alleged violation of the protective order. Ms. Brown, I need to swear you in, or I already swore you in, I think, because did I swear you in when you spoke, Ms. Brown? I don't think so.
Yes.
I already did swear you in. Let me advise you then of your rights under the protective order to the hearing, in that if I find that you violated the protective order, I could sentence you to up to 93 days in the county jail and or a $400 fine. If you deny that it's true, and it sounds like you do deny that this incident happened, then you're entitled to a hearing. During that hearing, you're entitled to be represented by an attorney. I'll appoint an attorney if you'd like to be represented by an attorney, but you can't afford to hire one of your own. Or, of course, if you'd like, you can go out and hire an attorney of your choice to represent you at the hearing. Miss Moody will be represented by the county prosecutor, and during that hearing, I would decide whether or not my protective order had been violated, and if so, what punishment, if any, that I would give you, Miss Brown. So,
Okay, so can I say one more thing before this ends?
yeah, and but I take it you want to enter a not guilty plea on the violation first and foremost.
Yes, not guilty. For one, she said that she was gonna drop this. About that violation, I know what she's talking about now. Me, I was riding past, I seen her,
Well,
and I
let's
told
not.
my cousin to serve her. What else I supposed to do?
Yeah, let's not talk too much about it because it'll be the subject of that future hearing, and I don't want you to say something without talking to a lawyer that might get you in trouble, because once it's on the record, it's like a bell, you can't unring it. What else did you have another question for me, Miss Brown? And I will get back to you, Miss Moody. After that.
No, I would like for me to put one out on her now.
Well, and if you think there are incidents that would support that, then you're free to file one as well, and I'll consider it, or another judge will,
Okay.
in due course. Miss Moody, did you have a question?
Yes, I also wanted to say this. That day that I did have a conversation with Anazia, I let her know, I understand what you're going through with our son's father. I don't want to have to do this. But like I said, the reason I put it in place is to protect my job. I don't like drama. I just want to peacefully deliver my mail and go home. That's my
How long
main
have you
thing.
worked for
But
the post office, Miss Moody?
3 years.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a good job, and no one would want to lose that because of a kind of unrelated argument that you have with, and it could obviously happen with someone along your route. So I
But-
understand the concern,
But I'm not gonna call up to her job. I don't care about her that much to do so.
yeah, no, and that's the other thing is, protective orders, they're civil, it's not a criminal conviction or anything like that. It's just a civil case that basically says you can't confront her. She is going to have to come by your place to drop off the mail.
Right, and I'm gonna live here for a couple of years, so it's just gonna keep being PPO orders, like.
No, well, the thing is if nothing else happens until this one expires, and this one, let me take a look at when it's in
But
place.
I'm not even waiting for it to get expired because I haven't done nothing to her. So I'm trying to drop this. I need protection of my home. I once owned a firearm. I'm trying to keep me and my family safe. I live by myself. She's messing with me. She know that. I'm not trying to hurt her. When she delivered the mail, I stay in my house. Like, I can't even protect me and my kids because of this mess. Like, serious. We live in the hood. Like, at the end of the day, I want to be able to protect me and my kids. But I got to deal with this nonsense.
Your Honor, I was saying, hold on. Can you mute your phone, Anazia, please? Judge, are you there?
It looks like he's frozen. Hopefully he'll
Okay.
come back on here in just a second. Just hold on for a moment.
Oh, he's gonna take that outside.
Mom, I'm doing it like this, Mom, because Kelly's cold.
So was he ever getting back on or what?
I thought maybe he would text me real quick if he's having trouble. So give it just a couple more minutes, okay? I'll try to reach out to him.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Still on that?
Yeah, we almost done. I'm waiting for the judge to come back.
What judge, sir?
I'll tell you about it when we get off the phone.
Still on that, Mom?
Yeah. Yes. Mark, go upstairs to keep your son safe.
Good job.
He seemed cool, but
Right.
what I'm lying for what? I ain't looking at her.
She is the law court.
Right. They gonna have you on YouTube. They said this might be on YouTube.
He said he's coming back, so hopefully just a minute, okay?
All righty.
1 second here.